Okay, the next poem that we're going to be looking at is called Nettles. And here's a short video just to introduce the poem in preparation for our lesson, or to act as revision. In terms of the relationship, it's between a father and son. I would say that it is a positive representation of their relationship, although a lot of the subject matter and the final realization of the father is negative. But it's positive in the sense that it shows a bond of love, of strength between father and son. Um, so again, nettles, plants that can cause harm. It starts off the first line with my son, so it's first person, it's quite personal. Age 3 immediately tells us that this is a young child. Now, when we look at some of the other language that's used, this may be to introduce and then reinforce that this child is vulnerable. This individual is vulnerable, and in some sense will always be vulnerable from the parent's point of view. They will always be hurt, and there is nothing that the parent can necessarily do about that. If we just progress through, I'd say the next thing to point out is there's lots of language, lexicon, vocabulary that is to do with military, army, soldiers. So we have spears, we have regiment, we have fierce parade, we have funeral pyre, we have fallen dead, we have recruits. So it really is an extended metaphor in the sense of the nettles, and a picture how the nettles, how they grow. It very much is comparing them throughout the poem as an extended metaphor to soldiers in a regiment, in a unit. And that said, the structure also reflects this in the sense of it's all together, it's one stanza, one verse. Even though there are points, here is one I would argue. I would also argue probably another one there where we have a full stop. That it probably could be separated into at least 2 or 3 stanzas, but it's been kept together, I think, to mimic, to represent, to reflect the nettle bed and to reinforce its I guess comparison to a unit, a regiment of soldiers. The boy then, with sobs and tears, the boy came seeking comfort, and I saw white blistered beading on his tender skin. This is where I think tender has been used to reinforce his vulnerability and youth. The boy's interesting because he starts off with my son, ends with my son, and yet it is the boy now. Now that's a strange thing for a father strange thing for a father to refer to his son by. The boy. You would either say their name or say my son. I think it also hints at more broadly here that the speaker's not talking about a specific person. Now, okay, it may be that, so let's assume that the speaker is the poet Vernon, and he may have a son and this may have happened, so he might be talking about his son, but then why not include his son's name? And then if he didn't want to include his son's name and just said my son, why and then include the boy? The point I'm trying to make is that I think the poet wants to broaden out his message, not just focus on this individual child, but on all children, all parents. And I think this way of hiding the name and then also referring to the boy enables him to do that. We, I assume, mother, father, possibly. But this is where there's a shift. So up until here, about halfway through, the boy's been injured, he's crying, they've comforted him. There's now a shift of almost vengeance, of revenge, of aggression and violence. I then took my billhook, honed the blade. Now, just picture that. Your son has been injured. The nettles have done that. You have your billhook, which is like, I guess, a machete to cut them down. But he doesn't go in to cut them down straight away. Instead, he goes and sharpens the blade. Now, it might be because it was completely blunt and it wouldn't be fit for purpose, but it might be that it's almost premeditated here, that he wants to inflict maximum pain, maximum damage. And all of a sudden, at this point, we start to question the father and go, okay, are you taking this a little bit too far? Is there something else going on here? and went outside and slashed in fury. Again, that fury hints at intense anger. And obviously he's upset that his son is upset, but it almost seems quite irrational. It's almost like he's doing this out of a lack of control, in the sense of he's losing control, but also he can't control everything in his son's life. And this is his realization, and he's almost had a fit of rage. He's almost responded to that realization in great anger at this point. We have some connotations again of the extended metaphor of military here, fierce parade. He burns them, fallen dead, but that's almost quite a respectful thing. So it's almost like now he's calmed down. So we do have what I would say would be a fit of rage here, and he does seem to have calmed down. But this but is so crucial because it suggests something else. Caught up tall recruits, my son would often feel sharp wounds again. Here is where again, similar to the son, or the boy, sorry, the poet, the speaker broadens out their argument, broadens out their message. The sharp wounds again here don't just refer to the nettles. It could refer to any potential cause of pain in his son's life in the future. And it's really a realization here that after the anger has subsided, after the fear has settled about what's happened to his son, that this will happen again. So again, it is a positive representation of a relationship in the sense that the father loves his son very much, but the subject matter, the realization, may be slightly negative. So hopefully this will help you in preparation, in the lesson, and then for revision.